Typhoon Talon skirts Hong Kong with little damage. The Crimean bridge comes under attack again. And John Kerry, the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy on Climate, now on a 3-day visit to China. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The observatory replaced the number 8 gale or storm signal with the strong wind signal number 3 this afternoon as Typhoon Talon moved further away from Hong Kong. While the number 8 signal was in force for more than 15 hours, Talon brought strong winds to some parts of the city, such as Hung Hom Pier and Heng Fa Chun in the Eastern District. Mimo Singai was at the pier.
Hung Hom Pier early Monday morning, where some people were experiencing the force of Typhoon Talon firsthand. This man said the wind was so powerful that sometimes he could not walk properly, adding that his clothes got splashed by sea waves. However, the weather did not stop some others from doing exercise or taking pictures with friends. With the number 8 gale or storm signal in force for most of the daytime, most people got an extra holiday. Despite the howling wind, many residents came to the pier after lunch, while some brought their families, others came alone. Children were having fun. This man who lives nearby said he enjoyed the cooler temperature.
It's nice and it's not so hot like the normal summer days. We walked all the way to Kuntong and back here and back, so it's been like 4 hours. We're gonna walk like 1 more hour and then just relax when we go home.
In Heng Fa Chun, meanwhile, the sea was rough with big swells. The wind was constantly howling. People captured the moments with their cell phones. Typhoon Talon also caused some destruction. A TV station's vehicle was hit by a falling tree on Tingyi North Costa Road. An advertisement banner was dangling from the wall of a building in Kowloon City. Firefighters had to use a ladder to handle the damage. Talon is the first typhoon with the number 8 warning signal to skirt Hong Kong this year. The observatory first issued the number 8 signal shortly after midnight, and the storm moved within around 300 kilometers south of the city. Mimo Singai, TVB News.
Public transport resumed gradually after the typhoon signal was lowered this afternoon. Here's a look at how Talon affected residents, tourists, and people who needed to work despite the storm. Sharon Tang reports.
Following the observatory's decision to lower the typhoon signal, Longwind Bus, City Bus and KMB gradually resumed services. At around 5:30 p.m, Sun Ferry services also started to pick up. This morning, some residents still needed to go to work in Wan Chai. Like this man who left home half an hour earlier because it was difficult to find transport. This man said, "I thought I could finally take a rest on a typhoon signal number 8 day. Then, you never know, my boss said I just had to work." Meanwhile, for some, the day also meant they get to have an extra day off. Some chose to spend it in theaters.
Today, and then we just decided to watch a movie now since we aren't able to go home anyways because the buses in Lantau are unavailable because a lot more stores are open. Yeah, even though it's Typhoon 8.
A cinema in Mongkok said half of the tickets for the rest of the evening were sold, and for some movies, only 1/5 of the tickets were left. As for some tourists, travel plans were scrapped. But this visitor from Malaysia said he's not upset at all.
Malaysia, we never experienced typhoon, so it is kind of a new experience to us. And the MTR is still open, which is very convenient.
Over at the airport, at least 22 routes were cancelled today.
All affected passengers will be accommodated on tomorrow's flight, which has been upgraded to a larger A330 aircraft. All our other flights departing and arriving before noon are operating as normal.
Still, long queues were seen at check-in counters as most flights took off as scheduled. At the arrival hall, visitors say the landing was relatively stable. This tourist from Beijing said there's only minor turbulence. She added she's glad there's some wind or rain, otherwise the weather would be extremely hot. The airport authority expects some 750 flights to be operating today. Passengers are reminded to double-check with the airline or the airport's website to check on their flights. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
Typhoon Talon also battered neighboring Macau with streets flooded and public services disrupted. Jackie Lin reports.
Macau's weather service issued signal number 8 at 5:30 a.m. The enclave's residents in the low-lying inner harbor area woke up to a storm surge with overflowing drains. Some had to wade through floodwater barefoot. Fish washed up on the street. Mr. Chu here grabbed 2 fish from the inundated street and put them in a basket. Extra work for businesses to protect their goods from water damage. Flood barriers have been installed too. This mainland tourist says she had to change her itinerary, adding there's no way she can visit and take pictures at the ruins of St. Paul's today. Under Typhoon Talon, Macau authorities suspended public transport services and classes for all schools except those at tertiary institutions. Most government departments also halted operations. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
2 people were killed and a girl seriously injured after blasts on the Crimean bridge, a key supply line for Russian troops fighting in Ukraine. Traffic has been halted on the bridge, which is the main land connection between Russia and Crimea. Last October, the bridge was damaged by a truck bomb and required months of repairs. Matthew Bray reports.
This is footage of the Crimean bridge across the Kerch Strait ablaze after an attack. The health ministry in Russia's Krasnodar region said 2 parents were killed and their daughter badly injured in an unspecified accident. 2 Ukrainian media reports suggested the country's domestic security agency and the Navy were behind the incident. Russia's anti-terrorist committee, meanwhile, said on Monday that unmanned drones on the surface of the water were responsible for the attack. And the Foreign Ministry in Moscow said it was carried out with the involvement of the United States and Britain without providing a shred of evidence. This still shot is provided by Russian media. Images of the Crimean bridge on Monday morning show no traffic on it. Sergei Aksionov, a Russian-installed governor in Crimea, urged car traffic to use what he termed the land corridor through the new regions of Russia. The same bridge was attacked last October. Ukraine only admitted to responsibility indirectly months later. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin, responding to the supply of cluster munitions to Ukraine from the United States, said Moscow reserved the right to use them also if they were deployed against Russian forces. He called their use a crime. Cluster bombs are banned by many countries because of the indiscriminate injuries caused over a wide area. Kyiv wants to use them on stubborn Russian resistance. It is running out of conventional shells as its offensive is going more slowly than some expected. Matthew Bray, TVB News.
A pact that has allowed the export of grain from Ukraine for the past year expires later today as Russia announced it was pulling out of the arrangement. The last ship loaded with grain left the Black Sea port of Odessa on Sunday. The deal brokered between the United Nations and Turkey aimed to stem a global food shortage following the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Moscow is pulling out of the deal because it claims its demands to improve its own grain and fertilizer exports have not been met. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Russia is working with Turkey on a plan to ensure Russian wheat reaches needy countries regardless of the grain pact. America's special presidential envoy for climate, John Kerry, is in Beijing for talks tackling rising temperatures and extreme weather. Both China and the U.S. have a poor record on limiting emissions, which is being blamed for climate change. David Garrett reports.
Forest fires spiralling out of control in Spain. A combination of torrential rain in the northeastern United States, while the south and west of America sizzles in record temperatures, with more fires in California. Last week was the hottest recorded on Earth. High levels of carbon dioxide and methane in the atmosphere are to blame. So, John Kerry's visit to Beijing could not be more timely. A constant climate change campaigner, the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate is on a 3-day visit to the Chinese capital. The concern is wider political tensions between the superpowers could get in the way of progress on environmental matters. As the world's two largest greenhouse gas emitters, China and the US need to put differences to one side.
We do know that climate change perhaps a bit more different from many other issues on the bilateral agenda has a great deal of urgency. Both countries, as well as the rest of the world, do need to get all their hands on deck and to accelerate their climate action.
Parts of China have been suffering extreme heat as well. Sanbao in Xinjiang topped 52 degrees Celsius.
What are your expectations with your China visit?
Kerry avoided questions when leaving his hotel, but in a statement before meeting Chinese delegates, he said he hopes to make big steps against a common threat. China will not begin reducing its coal consumption until 2026. Republican politicians back in Washington say China need to do more. Beijing has proved it can act, as has been the case with cleaning up pollution.
This is a daunting issue that is affecting the country's public in a negative way, and there is an urgency to take action. And that's what China did over the last 10 years or so. And as a result of that, we have seen steady progress with regard to cleaning up our air, improving the air quality.
Kerry met with his counterpart Xi Shenhua. Activists around the world hope these veteran politicians can set a new course in the fight against climate change. David Garrett, TVB News.
The unemployment rate among Chinese youth reached 21.3% in June, the highest rate since record-keeping began. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the latest jobless rate among 16 to 24-year-olds increased by half a percentage point from May. An official spokesperson said the figure is expected to go down in August when more fresh graduates secure jobs. The country's overall urban unemployment rate in the first half of 2023 stood at 5.3%. Meanwhile, investment in property development declined 7.9% in the first half of the year. Chinese authorities said the property market for 2023 remains in a stage of adjustment but is gradually stabilizing. Meantime, there have been two high-profile political sackings in Singapore. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong said he told two lawmakers from his own party to go. Lee said Parliament Speaker Tan Chuan Jin on the right and colleague Cheng Li Hui were failing to uphold party standards. They had been having an inappropriate relationship, Lee said, and although they had been told to stop, it appeared their relationship continued. Both apologized for falling below the level expected in their resignation letters. Singapore's leader will nominate a new Speaker of Parliament in August. Still ahead, the death toll from floods in South Korea jumps to 40. In Jiangsu province on the mainland, a gas tank explosion at a restaurant leaves one dead. And Edmonton in Canada shrouded in a smoky haze due to forest fires. Welcome back. In South Korea, 40 people have died so far and thousands evacuated since heavy rain started pounding the central and southern regions of the country earlier this month. President Yoon Suk-yeol has ordered the country's prime minister to mobilize all available resources to minimize casualties as more heavy rain is expected. Tracy Furness has more.
Unabating heavy rain has swollen rivers in South Korea. This drone footage shows a riverbank in Nonsang City collapsing as residents were forced to seek higher ground. More than 7,800 people have been forced to evacuate their homes in recent days due to flooding and landslides. Rescue workers in Cheongyang County are seen pulling a woman out of a swollen river after she was swept away while crossing a bridge on Sunday, while rescue workers here are assisting in a house damaged by a landslide. And another body was pulled out of a tunnel which was filled with water in less than 3 minutes Sunday, trapping around 15 vehicles. 12 people have died so far in the tunnel, 110 kilometers south of Seoul. Firefighters are still attempting to reach people trapped inside after pumping out water. Meanwhile, President Yoon Suk-yeol on Monday blamed authorities' failure to follow disaster response rules as the death toll rises. Yoon met with residents in Yecheong in North Gyeongsang province, an area hit by landslides where 19 people died and 8 remain missing, and he assured them the government would restore the destroyed village. Rain has pummeled the central and southern regions since last Thursday, with some areas receiving around 60 centimeters of rain. South Korea's weather forecasters say the region could still expect up to 30 centimeters more rain before Tuesday. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
A gas tank explosion at a restaurant in eastern China's Jiangsu province killed one person and wounded another on Monday. The shop owner was taken away for investigation. The gas tank exploded at a barbecue restaurant in the city of Yancheng at around 6 a.m. on Monday. A clip posted online showed several destroyed storefronts in a 2-story commercial complex. Debris and damaged trees were scattered across the street. It also triggered concerns over gas safety procedures after similar accidents last month. The Canadian city of Edmonton is still under a smoky haze as forest fires burn across the North American country. The wildfires are burning in northern Alberta, and the smoke is hovering over Canada's 5th largest municipality. Firefighters said there were as many as 100 separate blazes in the province. Masks are being distributed with swimming pools and libraries, offering people a chance to get away from the smoke. Forest fires are burning in other parts of Canada, including Quebec and British Columbia. The Diploma of Secondary Education examination results come out on Wednesday, when Form 6 students will receive their grades. Many secondary school leavers will pursue further education. With a shortage of health professionals a serious concern, the hospital authority is offering a professional diploma in general nursing with 300 positions. Mimo Singhai reports.
He is wearing a pregnancy profile simulator, equipment that gives the experience of pregnancy. To experience the body condition of an elderly person, this set of tools can do the job. And this pair of protective goggles makes one's eyesight blurry, and this headset blocks one's hearing. These are all part of the 4-year pre-registration nursing program at the School of General Nursing of Tuen Mun Hospital, which has been organized by the hospital authority since 2021.
To provide students with a better understanding of patients, the nursing school incorporates experiential learning in their studies.
The program is currently only available at 2 other medical institutions, Caritas Medical Center and Queen Elizabeth Hospital. This is Cassie Wong, a first-year student at Queen Elizabeth Hospital School of General Nursing. While Wong has always wanted to become a nurse, she did not enter the sector until recently. She worked in insurance previously.
I think nurse is a meaningful job, so don't hesitate, just go ahead.
Applicants who wish to study the program will have to fulfill several requirements, including fluent English and Cantonese. The principal of the nursing school in Tuen Mun said many students wanted to join the program in the past 2 years.
Every year there are around 3,000 or 4,000. I anticipate 3,000 to 4,000, maybe sometimes it's 5,000 students apply for this program.
She also reminded applicants to prepare for the interview, as it is one of the decisive factors. Memos 9, TVB News.
That's the news. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. Bye for now.